Alrighty guys, it is Qaaman here today, and I am joined with Geekdom and Dragon Ball Nation. In today's video, we were going to be having an extendedly long Q&A, so if you guys want to get a lot of your thoughts, I'm starting from the top this time because I've been doing the bottom for quite a few months, and a lot of you guys want me to go back to the top, and I'll just keep changing it over time. So without wasting any more time, let's get straight into this video. So the first question was for me to post a picture of my favorite landscape in the world. I kind of already pre-did it. And this is actually one of the stations in Antarctica, so if you guys actually, want to get a little bit of an image of what it's like to actually be there, take a look at this image here. So I guess that does it for this one, as you guys can see the picture right here. Alright, so let's go back to some of these questions here. Hey Qaaman, this cool Hunger Games simulator online where you can create your own cast of tributes and put them in the Hunger Games to see who wins. I've made my own custom cast with DBZ characters. Go to Brand Steel Hunger Games and click on load season. The code is whatever this is, Andrew Wee. Well, thanks Andrew Wee. I will create a new tab and I'll do that as soon as I'm done. Alright, let's see. Can Imperfect Cell absorb Mecha Frieza? He's a cyborg, and also how strong would King Cole be? Frieza's three first forms were restrictions on his final form because he was too powerful. If King Cole was so powerful at his second form, how strong would he be as his last form? Well, Geekdom, would you like to take this first?
Sure. The question is kind of interesting. So, first of all, can Imperfect Cell absorb Mecha Frieza? I would say probably, but can he absorb anybody other than 17 and 18? Because he did absorb the human, so I would say, yeah, I would say he could. How strong would he be? That's a tough question. But I'm kind of confused because he's asking about can he absorb Mecha Frieza, and then right afterward he's asking how strong would King Cole be. Those are two separate questions, right?
Right.
Okay, just double checking here. So, yeah, I would say he can. I mean, I don't know what you think, but I think he could. And how strong would King Cole be? When, though? Like, are we talking about when he first shows up or if he got absorbed?
I'm assuming when he's talking about when he first shows up. I mean, going into all of his forms, because, I mean, everybody assumes that King Cole is in his second form for two reasons. One reason is because Toriyama said that Frieza was asexually reproduced, even though that's a contradiction, because in the manga, he said, I've never had anybody hurt me besides my parents. Parents is plural, implying two people, which means he has a mother and a father. But also because of the fact that if you look at King Cole, he looked very similar to Frieza in Frieza's second form, which is why I think that a lot of people think that. But quite frankly, I mean, can we really, determine it? Josh from Dragon Ball Nation, you're pretty good at like determining character powers. What do you say to this?
King Cole's power, I mean, that's something that I've always asked myself. I mean, I would assume if he can transform into these final forms, I would definitely think he'd be stronger than Frieza. It's very hard to decipher because it's such a short scene where he's in, and the dialogue can be a bit confusing for it. But I think for the first part of the question, I'd like to throw my hat in the ring for that one. Imperfect Cell could definitely absorb Frieza, but obviously not in the same way he absorbed 17, 18. I think it'd be definitely similar to the way that Piccolo was absorbed as well as the other humans. It'd be more of a drainage and not consumption, I suppose, because the way he absorbed 17, 18 was quite different. He was made to absorb them specifically, and if he went to go absorb Frieza, it'd be more of a drainage rather than absorption.
And in my opinion also, I have my own theory a little bit on King Cole, because we really don't know what form he's in. Most of the fans would speculate that his form looks like Frieza's second form. But what if, now we know for a fact from Revival of F that Frieza has some control over the way he looks, right? That's all I'm going to say. That's not really a spoiler, just we know that, from the movie. So I always thought, and this is kind of a side, my own thought here, that Frieza's second form is a tribute to King Cole. I always thought that King Cole, the way we see him, because he's so much bigger than Frieza, that's actually King Cole's final form, and when Frieza was developing these forms, that he kind of created that second form to resemble his father. I don't know if that's ever been brought up before, but I've always felt that way. So that way, if you look at it that way, then the King Cole that we saw fight Trunks would be final form King Cole.
Well, I mean, quite frankly, there's never going to be enough evidence to support it, but in terms of power, I do want to point out that the manga did imply that King Cole and Frieza were around the same power level, which would mean that Mecha Frieza and King Cole were around the same. Now, some people speculate that Frieza suppressed his power and it was never fighting all out against Trunks. you know, quite frankly, I have my own reasons for that, and so does Dragon Ball Nation, and because of the fact that it really seemed like Frieza tried his best to kill Trunks in that effort, because
I agree.
Because of the fact that Trunks had gone Super Saiyan, and that would obviously mean that Frieza would not hold back. He would have no reason to hold back against the Super Saiyan, knowing what happened on Namek. And when you also factor in that King Cole himself was said to be around the strength of Frieza in the manga, then that would help me support that whole fact that, you know, maybe he was in his final form and he just looks different, and Frieza can manipulate his own physiology. But based on similar physiology, it does kind of make sense. But I think this is a pretty good question, and if he was in his last form, maybe that's the way it is. And if that really is King Cole's second form, his final form would probably be monstrous for everybody. All right, take this one, Josh.
Saiyan Saga Vegeta versus Frieza Saga Gohan. Now, they have to be specific about what part of the Frieza Saga. Do they mean when he gets his potential unlocked by Guru? Or later on when he gets those Zen Kai boosts? Because that's a huge difference.
Yeah.
Do you want to briefly go through them?
The Zen Kai boosts?
Yeah, go through the different stages of Gohan. Like, at what point would you say Gohan would have taken him?
Anytime, any Zen Kai boost he got after his potential was unlocked. Because when his potential was unlocked, I'm pretty sure it was implied that he was around Vegeta's level when Vegeta was on Earth. Something about that, but Vegeta would still take it, obviously, because of his techniques. But I think after that, Gohan's power would be too much. Really.
Especially if he has a rage boost. I think if
Exactly.
I think that would be trouble for Vegeta. But you know, they did have that fight, and I forget if it's in the manga or not. I know in the anime
No,
they
wasn't
had that.
in the manga.
I didn't think so. They had that fight in the anime on Earth after, like, you know, at the very tail end of the Frieza saga, and Gohan had a rage boost, but then Vegeta kind of, you know, got him back. So I'm thinking that, I'm thinking it would have probably turned out kind of like that. So I do think Gohan would win this fight, I think.
Well, I think the biggest reason is, you know, I do think that after Gohan got the Zen Kai boost, he would have been stronger, but not so much at first, because you remember when Ginyu went into Goku's body, he was said to have a power level of 23,000, and Gohan and Krillin were kind of struggling at some point, even though Ginyu was finding out more of his power. So 23,000 to struggle to beat a 23,000 even with Krillin's help kind of says, you know, a lot. But with his hidden potential, there's no way that Gohan would lose. All right, especially with all those Zen Kai boosts.
Yeah.
Do you think Cooler can only beat Frieza in his fifth form, or do you think he just outright is stronger? What do you say to this one, Geekdom?
So I do believe, again, it's non-canon, however, I do believe that Cooler in his fifth form, or even his fourth form / the only form that we see other than the fifth one in the movie, could beat Frieza. Cooler seems to be a much more serious character than his brother, much quicker as far as getting the job done. He does kind of knock Goku out for most of the movie when he first appears. So yes, I think that Cooler in his fourth form would defeat Frieza in his fourth form, my opinion.
Well, for me, if Frieza's 100% obviously, and he's fighting Cooler's fourth form if it has 100% form, I honestly think Frieza would win, and here's why. Based on how easily, because it is a fifth form he achieved, obviously, you have to think a fifth form would be a substantial increase. Considering how easily, even though Goku had a Zen Kai boost, how easily Goku defeated Cooler, I definitely think that based on that, his fourth form at its max would not be as strong as Frieza's. That's just my opinion.
You might be right, but it's kind of interesting, though, how the movie's somewhat contradictory in the sense that in the anime and in the manga, we find out that Frieza's fourth form is actually his true form, and that the previous three forms he was repressing his anger. So does this mean that Cooler's fifth form is actually his true form? We never get the answer to that, but it is interesting, however, that when he merged with the Big Getty Star, he went back to his fourth form. It's a movie. What can you say, right?
Right.
Definitely.
I mean, I definitely think that, I mean, the whole thing with Cooler is that it was implied that he would have been much stronger based off of the timing, because Goku's base would have been much stronger by the time he fought Cooler, even though there's some inconsistencies why he didn't go Super Saiyan right off the bat. The fact that he could injure Goku that badly, you know, even if Goku was in his base form, implies that Cooler was way stronger even as a whole. But
at the same time, Cooler's strength being that he was obviously stronger than Frieza in his fifth form, you know, Cooler still could have been at 100% at that point in his final form. So we don't know if Cooler's 100% fourth form would be a buffer version, you know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
So that definitely complicates things as well.
Right. How he pointed out that he needed his fist form, obviously causes confusion. But either way, moving on. Let's see. JSYN. My real birthday is July 20th. Well, happy birthday when that happens. I don't know what JSYN is. If you guys know,
I guess it would be just so you know. That's my guess.
That makes a lot of sense.
I've never seen that used, but that would be my guess.
Well, never knew that.
Happy birthday, David. All right. What up? Today is my birthday. How about a birthday shout out? Giselle718. Well, happy birthday then. This 12 hours ago, I guess at least it's not
I already gave them one.
Yeah, I mean, I guess this is a different person from David, but yeah, happy birthday to you. We wish you a happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Let's see. When Beerus told Whis to be quiet about the destruction of Planet Vegeta, do you think Piccolo must have heard with his great hearing? Well, I'm not going to be biased on this, so I'll let the biggest Piccolo hater in the world, Josh, I want you to comment on this.
Piccolo probably messed his britches. That's all I can say.
I think he did. I think so.
What do you say to this, Josh?
I think he definitely would have heard it.
Yeah.
But he probably doesn't care.
Well, I'm not going to make any spoilers and really comment too much about this because a lot of you guys really don't like me talking about Fakatsu no F, so I won't say anything to spoil anything, but I would just say yes. What are some things you would like to see implemented in a Dragon Ball Xenoverse sequel? Kadir Jackson.
That's a video topic.
This is a very good video topic, but if I just had to say one thing off the top of my head, Dino, also known as Rhymestyle, he's talked to me a lot about this, and quite frankly, guys, I've beaten the game and I'm finishing up, my playthrough, and the problem that I honestly have is the overpowered characters, and I've talked to this with Josh too. The overpowered characters are the main reason why I kind of don't like the online game. I think the game is extremely fun to play, and I'm going to do a whole review on the game, but quite frankly, the thing that really pisses me off is how some characters are built so overpowered in the custom created mode. And I'm not talking in terms of attacks. The attacks are itself. I was talking to Dino about it. I think what they need to do is they need to nerf how many points you can put into one attack. Nobody should be able to kill you and one-shot you, like kill you in like 10 punches. And Josh will tell you that's definitely possible if you put enough basic attack. You can kill somebody with 10 punches. You can one-shot somebody, with a Kai Blast Super or an Ultimate. I mean, it's just ridiculous how much damage you can do on that game if you just stack one stat, and that's the only thing I have a problem with. The attacks are fine. I think people might over exaggerate the broken attacks. I just think the stats are the biggest problem. I think if they balance it out, I think this could get it even better, but it's by far the best Dragon Ball Z game I've ever played. What do you say, Josh?
Qaaman, I've discussed this with you. I agree with that. I don't think that they necessarily need, they can obviously tweak the custom characters. They're obviously going to do that. It was a great first attempt, and I don't want anyone to think that we're bashing the game, because we're not. We love the game. I think a really good thing is in ranked matches for the sequel, ranked matches I think should not allow custom characters. That would help remedy that, because ranked matches I think should be an even playing field between preset characters like Goku, Vegeta, all those guys. No customs in ranked. That's just my suggestion.
I agree with that.
That would be good.
Do you have anything to say, Geek?
No, I agree with everything you guys said. I mean, as far as what to add to the game, it's a great game. Like, everything you said, you pretty much hit spot on. Balance it out. As far as characters, maybe, I don't know, as far as storyline goes, they can come up with whatever they want. There's so many different ideas, but everything you guys said as far as gameplay is on point, really.
Well, I'll just point this out really quickly just to add some more fire. Josh, would you like to point out at least one quick story about your Xenoverse experience that really illustrated something really broken in terms of stats? Or broken attacks?
Anytime I would play ranked matches, well, this is kind of remedied because they've patched them, obviously. They had broken attacks like the Vanishing Ball and Super Electric Strike, but they've been patched up. A lot of attacks, the stats and attacks have been patched up, but one thing that should work on is the net code, the internet connection, because if you have someone that has very high basic attack and the game's lagging when it really shouldn't be, that makes it very annoying to fight that person, especially if you're a very good player. Because I consider myself a pretty good Xenoverse player, and the guy I was fighting against had very high basic attack, and it was over for me because he was teleporting all over from lag and, rubber banding around, stuff like that. But I love the hell out of the game.
Yeah.
Regardless.
Tweak the custom system, and that's it. But quite frankly, playing this game with, the in-game characters is phenomenal. I mean, it takes a lot more skill, and even if a character has an advantage like Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, I can still beat him with Piccolo because of skills. So I really love the in-game characters. All right, guys, things at school cold done. I'm black. Would one of you want to translate this for me?
Guys,
I'm good. I'll pass that one.
It says, guys, things at school cooled down, so I'm back. I'm not sure what he means by that, but hey.
I thought I could have I read black.
You know, I actually remember, David was very active in both of me and Qaaman's Ask FMs. I do remember he actually was taking a break to finish up some schoolwork, so it's good to see you back, David.
Yeah, all right. All right, favorite YuYu Hakusho character? Well, he's actually on my banner. As a matter of fact, for the things that I want to focus my channel on, to tell you the truth, with the exception of the one that just has discussion, my favorite character is represented in every category. For example, Dwayne Wade's my favorite athlete. Piccolo's my favorite Dragon Ball Z character. He is my favorite YuYu Hakusho character. And am I missing one?
What about the Battlefield soldier?
The Battlefield, that was just for general discussion. I feel like I'm missing one. I'm missing something.
Sub-Zero.
Sub-Zero's my favorite video game character. Thanks, Josh. And yeah, that's basically it. Those are like basically my favorite characters from each category of my game. So yeah, if you want to know my favorite character, just look at my banner. Do you have anything to say about YuYu Hakusho, guys, or?
My favorite character is Kuwabara. I haven't watched the show in a while, but that's who I always gravitated towards.
I agree. I actually never got to finish YuYu Hakusho, but I did get a very good amount of the way in it. Kuwabara is actually my favorite as well.
Christopher Sabat once again, huh?
Not to mention Kuwabara's cameo in Dragon Ball GT.
Yeah, that was pretty funny when Vegeta knocked him out. All right, let's see. Well, he started off with this half, so let's finish off with that one. All right. How do you feel about the power scaling of the series? What I meant by that is the power scale of the Saiyan saga never really went above the 20,000-ish, unless it was Kaioken or Ozaru, whereas the Namek saga shot up to millions. Once Frieza got involved, other sagas go even further beyond. I feel as though if the numbers were neutered down to less severe increases, that it would be more believable. Instead of having 20,000-ish from Vegeta to Frieza's base of 500,000-ish, maybe having the numbers from 20,000 to about 250,000 with everyone numbers in between adjusted. Well, Strike Blade, I just want to start off by saying I think this is a very good question. And I think it's kind of what I've learned in school about the law of exponentiality, where basically as you get bigger, everything gets bigger. So it's kind of hard to calculate what something will be in the future because everything is increasing. It's not like a consistent increase. It's like the growth is getting bigger. Like YouTube is a good example. Like for example, when I was gaining subscribers at around 2,000 subs, I was gaining maybe 40-50 subs a day, and that was probably a lot more than what I was making before. So I would think back then that my channel would probably be around 4,000 to 5,000 today when I started gaining some subs on YouTube, and now I'm at 108,000. And the reason is because as my channel's getting bigger, I'm gaining more subscribers and my growth rate is getting bigger. So it's very hard to calculate where I will be because my growth rate is changing, and that's kind of how I look at it with Dragon Ball Z. Everybody's getting stronger. Goku trained and got a Zen Kai boost, and I think that's the reason Goku came back to the Ginyu Force fight with so much power, because not only did he gain a Zen Kai boost, but that training he did really increased his power. And I think that Zen Kai boost he got made his body stronger to withstand the training he took. So it's kind of like a hand-in-hand type of thing. And for Gohan, he really got stronger because of his Zen Kai boost, and for Krillin, he really only got stronger because of Guru's unlocking of his power. And for the other characters, Vegeta, Zenkai boost, really, Geekdom and Josh and I have all talked about this before. The Namek saga is all about Zenkai boost. If it was not for Zenkai boost, they would all be dead. What do you say? And fusion with Piccolo and Nail. What do you say, guys?
Well, Josh is really the expert as far as calculating power scaling. He's definitely done his research and homework on that one. But you're absolutely right. And one thing I will add to it is it's very difficult to, and I know both of you guys have done videos on critiquing certain power level lists, and you're both on point in that. It's very hard to figure out power levels and power scaling the further you go into the series, because the scouters are gone, there's no way to detect anything, and also we don't know how strong the base power is. So there's people out there who want to kind of try to figure out how strong Goku is in Battle of Gods. Very difficult, and in Revival of F. very difficult because we don't know how strong his base is, so you can't really multiply a number that you don't know what the base is. So my answer to this has always been, try not to focus too much on it. Don't have flame wars over it. Just enjoy the show. And Josh is the best guy to kind of answer this as far as numbers go. But in my opinion, I do think that this Strike Blade is correct in that maybe it did go too far, but they kind of had to because the stakes had to always be higher. And that makes me wonder, what are the stakes going to be in Dragon Ball Super? And that's a topic for another day.
Well, right before Josh knocks this question out of the park, I just wanted to ask you, Geekdom, would you say that Zen Kai Boost has a huge factor into what I was saying about how that's basically the reason why they even survived Namek?
Absolutely. I don't know if you heard me, but I definitely agree with you on that one. One of the things about the Namek saga, and as a whole, start to finish, is the Zen Kai Boost coming into play over and over and over again. And in some ways, they really don't make too much sense, but we just have to kind of believe it, like, okay. Because it's kind of weird in many ways to see how Goku jumped from 180,000 to being able to compete with 1,000,000 power level Frieza. And again, we don't know how strong he really is. So, no, I totally agree with you. And one of the things I do like about the Cell saga or Android saga, whatever you want to call it, is that they did kind of scale back on that a little bit too.
Yeah, well, what I got to say, you guys pretty much said everything I was thinking. The only thing I can add is, Zen Kai Boost obviously did make that whole Frieza / Namek saga, and it was very heavy, and the story needed it to happen, and they had to write them to be stronger Zenkai boosts for each consecutive one. Vegeta going from weaker than Raccoon to, under Frieza's first form, to a certain degree, we don't know exactly where he was under his form. But it was obviously an exponential, extremely large boost. They just didn't make very much sense in terms of how they gained the strength, because if you look at Vegeta from the Saiyan saga, that was one of the worst beatings he'd gotten in the entire series, and it jumped him out by 6,000 points in terms of his power level. He was an 18,000, went up to a 24,000 after that awful beating. And
Zarbon.
Zarbon didn't give him. I think that the one on Earth was probably, even though Dende needed to heal him, I think that the one that Dende gave him shouldn't have been as big as it was. But the story needed to, obviously move forward, and they had to write some way. And I think it's not that big of a deal, but it is definitely an inconsistency. But that's what you get with Dragon Ball. It's always about inconsistencies.
Yeah, and just to add to what you said, Goku's body was destroyed by Vegeta when Ginyu was inhabiting it, and that was supposed to be the Zenkai boost that put him on the level of Final Form Frieza for the early part of their fight. But I do agree 100% with you, Josh, in the sense of Vegeta in that fight on Earth. I mean, he ate everything, including 8 million pound giant ape landing on him, and he's somehow only 6,000. You would think it would be more.
Right.
Exactly. And another thing before we move on, I just thought of, you have to think, when Vegeta got that Zenkai boost from Dende and then fought Final Form Frieza, his power level before he got that Zenkai boost was greater than Goku's was before he got the Zenkai boost.
Right.
And Goku got much stronger, and that makes no sense to me.
That's a very, very good point.
That's just writing.
That's a very good point, and I just want to point out really quickly, I think you make your best point about the whole consistency, because Vegeta got several Zenkai boosts. I mean, he got the one from Earth, then he got the one from Zarbon, then he got the one from Raccoon, then he got the one from Krillin. So if you really think about it, I mean, the Zenkai boost he got from Earth only shot him up 6,000. 25% is actually a huge increase, but I mean, when you compare it to the one he got from Zarbon, he went from being able to from losing to Zarbon to being able to beat Zarbon and hold his own with Raccoon, but still being weaker. Then the Raccoon one sent him way above like the Ginyu Force, but he was still weaker than Frieza, and then that last one just sent him off. So I really think that, it's just writing and there's no consistency to it, but maybe I can think of a theory in the day. But this was a great question.
Also, do you believe that maybe the Zenkai boosts become greater each time they get one?
I'd really have to think about that. That's probably a good thought for talk discussion, to be quite honest with you. Love to have you guys in it, because I mean, it's quite possible, but there's so many things to say about the different types of Zenkai boost characters have gotten. So that's basically it in a nutshell, especially when you look at Cell too. Either way, if a group of 4 people got together and did the fusion dance, could those 2 people do a fusion dance with each other? So how long would you think it would last for, and how OP would that person be? Well, to just start off, I've always felt that you could theoretically fuse 2 fusions together. The reason why is because when you fuse 2 people together, they become one person. They're one person. Even though they're a fusion of 2 people, you know, if me and Josh fused into a character, we are one person, so why can't we fuse with another person, right? It's just the same as another 2 people fusing, and that's one thing I've always looked at. What do you say, guys?
Qaaman's Nation is what you would call yourself.
Well, Qaaman, what you said there about them being, the fuse being a whole new person, I think is something a lot of people don't actually, I think I've seen a lot of people don't actually understand or know that. And it is true. They're completely new beings once they fuse, and that's, you know, it's pretty simple that they could fuse. The question is, if they both did fusion dances and they defuse, what would happen? Who knows?
Well, the other question
but in the hypothetical situation that a fused being, 2 fused beings that were done with the dance did the Patara earrings, it would definitely be a permanent fusion at that point, I think.
That's what I was going to bring up too, and we also don't know about the time limit, because I know a lot of people who have speculated on this have said that maybe it would go an hour. I disagree. I think if they did a double fusion, it would reduce it. Hey, yeah, 15 minutes. Absolutely, that's what I think. So get the job done. Don't be like Gogeta and GT. Get it done, you know?
That's right.
All right, well, that's a pretty good question. All right. Geekdom, why don't you read this one?
Oh, man. Why do you think Broly hates Goku? Did you not see the movie? Because he cried. That's it. That's all we know.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
I mean, it kind of also implies this too. I mean, if you look at Broly's second coming, a lot of people don't realize this, but that's the main reason why Broly was so angry when he saw Gohan and Goten. Because Gohan and Goten look like Goku. I mean, Gohan to a lesser degree, but Gohan still looks enough like Goku to see a resemblance. And Goten is literally like the splitting image of Goku. So I think that's why Broly was even more angry in Broly's second coming, because Goku was not around, but he sees these 2 guys that look like him, and he's like, Kakarot, and that's why he like lost his mind. Like, if you guys noticed, there's a huge change in Broly from the first movie to the second. Like, in the first movie, he actually would have like conversations with characters, and he was a lot more, well, he was still an insane character, but like he would communicate with the other characters a lot more. He would have more dialogue in the fight. In the second one, he was basically just saying Kakarot the entire movie. I mean, I guess the voice actor didn't have a, you know, very big job to do. I mean, I think he only said 1 or 2 like full sentence lines in the second movie. I don't remember exactly what it was. So, yeah, that's basically why he hates him.
He got a Zen Kai boost also between the 2 movies.
Yep. Even that's another conversation for another day with the Zen Kai boost, but I still theoretically think Zen Kai boost exists. All right, let's see. Would Cell have better potential than Frieza if were to come back to life and train for 4 months? Yeah, I mean... Well, I mean...
It's the question of if it's Frieza's physiology that makes him have that much potential, or is it that it's his base power?
But Josh...
That's the big question.
The thing about Cell, though, is Cell is kind of like Frieza because he has his genes in him, so...
True, but it's very, very small amount. That's the thing.
And also,
and I've heard theories that the human DNA will hold them back, but we don't know.
Well, also, we can't really answer this question too much without going into spoilers for Revival of F. Just wanted to throw that out there as well, that can't really be fully answered, because I know what he's talking about, but people who haven't seen Revival of F might not have a clue. So, but I do agree with what Josh said about the physiology. We don't... It seems like in theory he would, but again, I don't want to get into spoilers unless you're okay with it. It's up to you, man.
Yeah, let's just keep it away for our fans. But I'll just say this. I mean, if you look at Frieza's first form and Cell's first form, imperfect, not really counting his larval form or the one that was just walking and, you know, went into the time machine, counting those 2 forms out, Cell's imperfect form is significantly stronger than Frieza's first form. And because of that, I would think... You know, that because Cell is just naturally stronger, if he trained, he should theoretically be able to catch up, especially if he has some of Frieza's genes. But that's a stretch to say, and I'm not going to lie to you, I would much prefer Cell to come back. I think he's a much better villain.
Even though it wouldn't make sense, if they could find a way somehow, it'd be awesome.
The only way is
but I couldn't think of anything.
The only thing I could think of, Josh, to be honest, is if he broke the rules of the afterlife and used instant transmission to just come to Earth and fight. That's the only thing I could think of.
Yeah, and the other thing too is, I mean, I have an answer for this question, but without going into spoilers, I'm gonna just avoid it. But there is an answer. We'll talk about it in a couple months. How about that?
Yeah, we'll be back. We'll have these guys for more of these. All right, take this one, Geekdom.
How much? Oh boy, how much percent? This is funny. Josh mentioned this the other night. How much percent of Beerus' power did he use on Super Saiyan 3 Goku when Goku got one shot on King Kai's planet?
Oh boy, it's gonna be
Josh.
good.
Almost impossible to answer. You can only estimate.
Didn't we estimate that it was under 25%? Is that right?
It had to have been. I think it has to be to 10 to 15% of his power. I think that's my estimate. I've gone on record saying that Beerus' power from fans is very overrated. I'm not saying Beerus is a weak character. He's insanely strong. But I think people underestimate how much even a dozen times stronger than someone would make you. People, say Beerus is 100 times stronger than Goku. I don't think so. That's just me. I think Beerus is very overrated by the fans, but he's definitely very powerful. But I think he was using around 10 to 15% of his power. That's still pretty insignificant.
And as you said, also just to add to what you said, Josh, you've said in the past that Beerus has trained with Whis for an unspecified amount of time. So Beerus learned a whole lot more from Whis than Goku and Vegeta have during their time or whatever training. So Beerus' ability to use pressure points and have knowledge of combat also kind of factored in as to why he was able to knock Goku out so fast.
Exactly. It's very evident that they have a very strong influence with pressure points and all these kind of moves. He has very unique abilities, like that time he, knocked out Piccolo with those chopsticks.
Hey. Anyways, I just like to say, Josh, you are the biggest Piccolo hater, but we're just kidding, guys. But
no, I actually like Piccolo, but I just get.
He likes
I like to get on Qaaman's nerves about it.
But honestly, when I looked at Beerus' fight with Super Saiyan 3 Goku, I think one thing that Josh pointed out that we've always agreed on is I think a lot of people might not understand that being twice as strong, if I'm 2 times your strength, I am so much stronger than you that you don't even stand a quantesimal of a chance. Like, twice as strong as somebody is enough to dominate them. Being 25, if you are 25% stronger than somebody, which is not even close to being twice as strong, if you're 25% stronger than somebody, that's enough to dominate them. The last official power levels we had was 150 million Goku versus 120 million Goku of 120 million Frieza. Goku was 25% stronger than Frieza, and being 25% stronger than Frieza, he was able to dominate him even a lot more in the manga than in the anime, even though in the manga Frieza still held his own. So that pretty shows you if 25% is enough to beat somebody pretty, one-sidedly. And if you look at, Raccoon, Josh estimates Raccoon's power level to be in the 40,000s to 50,000s, and if you look at how strong he was compared to Vegeta, he was not twice as strong as Vegeta. We estimate Raccoon was probably 40 to 50%, 30 to 50% to be more generous, 30 to 50% higher than Vegeta, and he was like beating Vegeta like Vegeta was a kid. So, I mean, if you really think about it, being that much stronger than Goku means that unless Goku went through something astronomical, he didn't stand a chance. And maybe Super Saiyan God did it, but I mean, there's no way I think Beerus could be 100 times stronger than somebody. Here's an analogy that me and Dragon Ball Nation have always used. Some people have said Beerus is 1,000 times stronger than Goku, and I've always said this, guys. If you want to think about it, if you're 2,000 times stronger than somebody, do you know what that gap is like showing in an equivalence proportionally? That's like comparing the 5 power level farmer to a person who has a power level of around 10,000. So I want to see Goku when he was fighting Vegeta using probably his first Kaioken stage. I want to see that Goku versus the farmer in the fight. That's the difference in gap that we're looking at when you say 2,000 times somebody's power. And I just wanted to say that for you guys too.
And I just want to say one thing, because Qaaman, the other night we were discussing, the Buu forms in comparison to Gohan, Mystic Gohan. And remember, we actually figured out, based on statements from the show during those couple fights Gohan was in versus Super Buu, is that Gohan wasn't even twice as strong as Super Buu was.
Well, he didn't need to be.
And to briefly explain why to the viewers, because I'm sure they may be confused, it's because Gotenks and Super Buu are roughly about the same, even though Gotenks is a little bit stronger. Gohan destroyed Super Buu with ease, and when he absorbed Gotenks as well as Piccolo, even though Piccolo's power was pretty insignificant to them.
Hey.
I'm just stating a fact.
I knew it.
Gotenks and Buu are about equal, so that's basically multiplying Super Buu's power by 2. Gohan couldn't handle Buu Tanks, as he's called, but after they lost the fusion ability inside Super Buu, he had lost. It was stated by Goku that he lost a third of his power, right, Qaaman?
Which is 33%.
And he said that Gohan could handle him. So it's obvious that Gohan's not even twice as strong as Super Buu. But it just shows that powers can be very inconsistent in Dragon Ball Z, as we all know. But that whole fight with Beerus and Goku could be one of the inconsistent things. I've always estimated Beerus is probably a couple dozen times stronger than Goku. That's just my honest opinion. People obviously aren't going to agree with that. It's this thing that Beerus' power is so exaggerated. But the fact of the matter is, analyzing that film and, looking back at the series, that's just my rough estimate based on things that have been stated. That's just my opinion.
Yeah,
and also, go ahead.
I was just going to say really quickly to add, I mean, when Toriyama made the statement, we're going a lot on this question, but when Toriyama made that statement that if he were to scale Beerus, Goku, and Whis, he said Goku would be a 6, Beerus would be a 10, and Whis would be a 15. You do know what that means, right? That means theoretically, if Goku got stronger, if Goku got twice as strong as he was...
Well, actually, Qaaman, not to cut you off, I believe he was referring to Super Saiyan God Goku.
Right. So that would mean if Goku got... Oh, yeah, that's a good point. I should have mentioned that. So if Goku, as a Super Saiyan God, was twice as strong, that would mean he would already be stronger than Beerus. And if Goku was 3 times as strong, he'd be stronger than Whis. So really, that shows you that only multiplying by 2 or 3 times can put you that far up. And, to point out, I think Josh makes a really good point when he says that if Buu Tanks loses a third of his power and now Gohan is stronger than him, that shows you that Buu Piccolo losing 33%. That means the difference between Buu Tanks and Gohan would have been in the span of 33% because a decrease in 33% said Gohan can now handle you. So that obviously shows something. What were you going to say, Geekdom?
No, actually, you took the words out of my mouth. I was going to bring up the Toriyama interview. You said it, man. That's it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's all good. No, it's perfect. We got it.
All right. Take this one, Geek.
I love this question. When would have been the best time to end Dragon Ball Z, excluding DB Super or the Oob arc? Actually, Kazuhiko Torishima, who was Toriyama's first editor and pretty much was kind of in charge of the first half of Dragon Ball, recently stated in an interview that he felt it should have ended in the Frieza saga. And there's a lot of validity to what he's saying because it makes a lot of sense. If you look at Dragon Ball as a whole, you can kind of see that the story is kind of about Goku. So what better way to kind of end the story than have him finally transform into this legendary warrior, destroy the guy who killed his entire race and his father, and is kind of in a roundabout way the reason why he even wound up on Earth, and then die with the planet, and now his son and Piccolo are now in charge of the Earth. That's, of course, if they didn't continue the series. That's a great ending. To me, I love the Cell Saga ending, in my opinion, because I love the passing of the torch. I love that Goku handed his spirit down. That's how it was referred to in the Japanese version in the episode title. So that's my opinion. I don't know if you guys agree, but I think even though the fusions are cool, Majin Vegeta is a great storyline, great moment for Vegeta. All that stuff is great, and I do enjoy it, even though I think the ending's kind of, a little, it's cool, but it's kind of a step down. I feel that the Cell Saga, the Cell game, would have been the perfect time to end Dragon Ball. I don't know if you agree or not.
I agree 100%. And it is a very, very popular opinion. I have thought of my own little, I guess fan-made ending, but, it's basically that if Vegeta somehow, if Super Buu was unleashed earlier and Vegeta somehow destroyed him with that final explosion, obviously it wouldn't be anywhere near strong enough to even hurt Super Buu, but that would have been a very incredible ending if we ended it with Vegeta's death in a very, very extreme what-if scenario. But obviously, guys, I know Vegeta wouldn't have been anywhere near strong enough with that explosion to touch Super Buu. But that would have been a very awesome ending. And the reason I say Super Buu is because, come on, Fat Buu is pretty silly. That wouldn't have been that. It wouldn't have been as climactic, but, maybe even if it was Kid Buu. But that's just my opinion. It's a little fan fiction thing, whatever. But I definitely think the Cell the Cell games would have been a fantastic ending. But I'm super glad we got all this stuff with the Kaioshins, all these, different realms with this new Battle God stuff, the fusions. I'm glad we got all that stuff. It puts a whole new layer on the series. But yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll just say really quick, I think that the Cell Saga would have been the best only for two reasons. Number one, I think it's kind of like how Goku passes the torch to Gohan, but I feel like if it ended at the Frieza Saga, we would have never gotten a chance to see Super Saiyan again. We've only seen it for a few episodes, and I feel like people want to see the Super Saiyan used more, and I feel like if we go to the Cell Saga, I think one extra Super Saiyan transformation is not overkill. It's like, wow, there's actually a level beyond the Super Saiyan, and I think you can end the series right there. You don't need to have Super Saiyan 3, you don't need to have Super Saiyan 4, even though I think the design for Super Saiyan 4 is good. Super Saiyan God, all these extra Super Saiyan forms, I think those were just added, and it really is ridiculously, seriously, Saiyans are really supposed to have these many forms inside of them? But quite frankly, I think the Cell Saga would have been great. Goku dies, but he passes the torch to Gohan and Piccolo to, take care of the Earth, because those would be the best characters by then. And I'm just kidding, guys. I'm just kidding. But
no, and I will say this, just a little tidbit that many people may not know. The original name for SSJ2 was not SSJ2 because Goku did not officially call it that until he fought Fat Boo. The original name for that form, was Super Saiyan or Saiyajin, whatever you want to call it. Super Saiyan Super Saiyan Grade 5. Because in the Japanese material, like in the reading material, the grades 1 was the regular one, 2 was what Vegeta achieved, 3 was the Trunks, what the Ascended / Ultra, 4 was Goku and Gohan's full power form. So Gohan's SSJ2 was actually called Grade 5. And I think that would have been kind of a cool ending too, just calling it that,
And Geekdom, that whole thing about, Goku was really the first person to ever call it SSJ2. That's something I think a lot of people missed, and, that's kind of why you never heard it ever really said before. That was the first time, and then, Vegeta later on said, show me that Super Saiyan 3 business and all that stuff, so it's definitely a nice little, piece of dialogue to look at.
Yeah.
All right. What if Gohan turned Super Saiyan in the Frieza Saga? Josh, you want to take this one first?
Gohan would have gotten destroyed.
What's your reasoning?
Really?
His base power was just too weak. Unless Gohan got some rage. I guess the Super Saiyan may have. The thing is the Super Saiyan gonna have a bigger multiplier on Gohan because of his rage, or is his base power gonna increase for a set amount of time? I'm not so sure, but even though there's a big gap between second form Frieza and Gohan, I think there's an even larger gap between 100% Frieza and Gohan if they were to fight. So
you know what? I was actually going to come into this and say that he would have won, but you just changed my mind, bro. I think you just hit me with one. I've changed my mind. You're right. I agree with you.
To be honest with you, the first thing I thought about was an older topic I did, and I think Josh knows where I'm going here. I did a topic a while back that I've gotten a lot of controversy on. What if Vegeta turned Super Saiyan against Frieza? And in that video, I said that I think Vegeta would lose to Frieza, and I had my points. And the reason is when you consider the fact that Vegeta was so much weaker than Goku when Goku fought Frieza, and Goku held a much better fight up against Frieza compared to Vegeta. Vegeta did not even touch Frieza. He literally did not even touch him, and Goku was able to touch Frieza multiple times before he even went Super Saiyan, even though sometimes he used Kaioken. So that tells me that Goku by himself has a much stronger a significantly stronger base form. And if for those of you who may disagree, let me tell you this point. Why was Vegeta so impressed with Goku when Goku came to the battlefield? He was very impressed with his power, and he was like, finally the Super Saiyan has arrived. He would not say that if he didn't think Goku was significantly stronger than he was. So the reason why I say that is because since Goku's so much stronger than Vegeta, and Vegeta would obviously be stronger than Gohan, plus or minus a few instances where Gohan's potential comes out, that would lead me to believe that if I don't even think Vegeta would beat Frieza as a Super Saiyan, and a lot of people have said, well, becoming a Super Saiyan automatically means you're stronger than Frieza, I disagree.
Absolutely not. And I'm going to add to what you just said real quick. I actually did a video about this on my channel as well, and that's the fact that when Frieza was in his 100% form, he was going back and forth with Goku. They were going back and forth, and what happened is that Frieza's body started to wear out because his body could not handle that 100% power for too long. And if you notice when you watch the fight, especially more so in the anime than in the manga, Goku focuses his attack on Frieza's midsection. He focuses his attack on Frieza's gut, his solar plexus area, because he knew that if you focus your attack on that area, when somebody's already kind of getting, you know, their wind is starting to leave them, it was going to be a much easier way to beat them. And that's what happened. And that's a combination of Goku knowing how to fight and the fact that Frieza's power was draining. It was actually going lower and lower as the fight progressed. And as a result of that, I think that people do underestimate Frieza's power at 100%. So you definitely should go back and read the manga if you're questioning this and kind of re-look at it and pick up on that.
Well, I mean, the thing is in the manga, it's even more. The anime, actually, in my opinion, Geekdom, I actually disagree slightly. The anime actually shows a much more, I guess you would say, a much closer fight than. I'm sorry, the anime shows a much closer fight than the manga does.
In a way, I agree.
The manga was actually a lot more sided towards Goku, even though Frieza got his blows. But that supports the argument as a whole that Frieza could hold his own with Goku in his 100% form. And, you know, Goku was a Super Saiyan. He was stronger than all of them. So if Frieza could hold his own with Goku, you think Vegeta could beat him? No way. Vegeta was way weaker than Goku and all of them. And, you know, I just like to close this out by saying, Josh, do you want to point out anything about your opinion about Teen Trunks?
Just one quick thing before I say it, just so the viewers that aren't familiar with it know, that whole scene where Gohan went back to fight Frieza was
not
filler.
Canon.
Just wanted to point that out because I know people are going to mention that. But what about Teen Trunks? What were you want me to talk about his?
We've had a lot of
power?
debates on how strong we think early Teen Trunks is.
I think we should leave most of it for a different video that may be coming.
Yeah.
But Teen Trunks was
early Teen Trunks.
In the manga, early Teen Trunks was a Super Saiyan, and he was training with Gohan when Gohan was in his base form. And Gohan very easily was, dodging his hits and stuff. Gohan had such an upper hand even in his base form. And as fans know, Super Saiyan is known to be a 50 times multiplier. So that's got to show you how strong the manga version of early Teen Trunks really would have had to been in his base form. But I don't want to say too much because I think we can do a really good topic on that.
The whole point, I mentioned that was to just point out that just because you're Super Saiyan doesn't mean you can beat Frieza. That's my whole debate.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
All right. I guess I'll take this one. Hey, Qaaman, I just got an Axe.fm. If you read this, can you please ask people to visit my Axe.fm? Well, if they're watching this video, Rokasoka, they already see it. Rokasoka is one of my really, really old subscribers. He's been following my channel for years. I mean, he's basically known me ever since I was, just starting off on YouTube in terms of Dragon Ball Z segments. I'd only say probably Sly Cooper and Isaiah Orihara are the only two subs I've had that have known me before Rokasoka. From my knowledge, the Dragon Ball GT fan is another one of them. The Aura Master is another one of them. Those are the only subs I can think about that probably knew me maybe a little bit before when I was doing Yu-Gi-Oh segments. But yeah, Rokasoka, good luck on your Ask.fm, bro. I'm glad that, this website's getting a lot more usage. All right, take this one.
It definitely deserves it.
What if Goku went to What if Goku went to the History of Trunks timeline instead of Trunks going to the main timeline? And then in parentheses, this after Goku has already killed Frieza and King Cold, and it took place in the 3-year gap before the androids would appear. Notice Goku got the medicine in Trunks timeline from Bulma or Trunks. Well, first of all, in order for that to happen, he'd have to have a time machine. He'd have to have Trunks' time machine specifically, right?
Yeah, basically.
That's the only way it would happen. But I do remember there being a line where Bulma, I believe in the manga actually, Trunks says that one of the ideas that Bulma had was to bring him to the future. I could have sworn I read that somewhere. Maybe I'm losing my mind, but that sounds familiar.
Josh, you want to lay your nuts on this? Josh, let me edit this part out. Josh, you want to share your thoughts on this?
Well, I don't exactly know about that piece of dialogue, Geekdom. It may have happened. I'm actually not familiar with it, but if the off chance that he does, hypothetically, of course, have a time machine, if Goku goes to the future, so the main, I guess the timeline future Trunks came from.
Yeah. I guess it would be Goku and Trunks fighting together, right?
Are they trying to ask if he would be strong enough to defeat the androids, I guess?
I don't think he would have, but
No.
I think what this question really is trying to address, though, is kind of out of the blue, because I don't think this topic could exist, because you can't go to the future unless that timeline has already been created by the past, according to my alternate timeline theory. And I'm just basing this information on what the show presents. I'm not saying like I created that rule. I'm just saying, as my alternate timeline theory pointed out, based off of facts from the show, that you cannot go to the future if that timeline didn't already exist for you to go to the past. You know what I'm saying? So how can Goku, before, Trunks is born and all that, go to future Trunks' timeline? And how would he even get a time machine? There was no need to build a time machine. I've always felt that Bulma built a time machine because she needed to. A lot of people have asked me, why didn't Bulma make a time machine for like the main timeline? But there really was no reason. They had a much better, outcome in terms of life. So I think that's the main reason. What do you say, guys?
Yeah, and also that's actually addressed in H.G. Wells' The Time Machine film adaptation, that very theorem right there. If you don't have a reason to create a time machine, you won't create one, and thus you can't go back in time, because your reason to go back in time would require you to make a time machine. So I didn't want to ixnay the question too soon, but there's no way he could have done it unless Trunks went back and then him and Trunks hopped in that machine together. That's the only way I can think of it would have worked.
All right. Take this one, Geekdom.
What is the secret behind instant transformation? Does he mean instant transmission or instantaneous movement?
Means instant transmission.
Yeah, I mean, there really is no secret. Now, in the dub, all right, there's a line where Vegeta says it's just super speed in the original dub. That's a mistranslation. That's actually not correct. It's basically instantaneous. Now, does that mean that it's the power of the speed of light? That's up for debate completely. That's a whole different video topic. We don't have time to get into that here, I'm sure. But I don't know what he means by the secret. We just know that Goku learned the technique from the Yard Rats, and that all he has to do is sense the key of a being, and he can go to their location instantaneously.
Exactly.
That's pretty
I do actually have a theory. I think it definitely has something to do with extreme key management and manipulation and, knowledge of yourself. I think you have to have very immense key management. That's what I've always thought about it. I really, to be honest with you, aside from the fact that he does have to concentrate when he's going great distances with it, that's kind of where I base it off of. And I know this is a little side thing, because I know it's not canon, obviously. But in GT, even though, like I said, it's not canon, Goku did have trouble doing it in his kid form, and it shows that he didn't have as good key management. He couldn't handle Super Saiyan 3. Like I said, obviously it's not canon, but it kind of does go in line with what I thought.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, to go back to what Josh was mentioning about GT, I mean, one thing that I wanted to point out is that when you look at Kid Goku, I mean, there's always been some inconsistencies with, him using instant transmission, because he said, oh, well, you never learned instant transmission as a kid, that's why it doesn't work well. But then he should never even be able to go Super Saiyan at all, because he never went Super Saiyan as a kid, and he never knew how to fly when he was a kid. So I mean, there are all these little nuances that a lot of people can argue against, but quite frankly, I just think that instant transmission basically works where the speed. I was talking to Super Jaiyan about this, a friend of Geekdom, and we were saying that it works instantly. There's no speed attached to it, because if you read the manga, Piccolo specifically said how Raditz dodged special beam cannon and he moved faster than the speed of light. So if Raditz can move faster than the speed of light, and he's basically the weakest, villain in the series, at least one of the major villains, there's no way that characters afterwards, would obviously move a lot faster than that. So that's why I've always felt it. Mm-hmm.
Not to knock a blow at you at all, but from my understanding, and Geekdom, you may know this, apparently from my understanding that the whole thing about Raditz moving at the speed of light at that point, apparently that is a translation error even on the manga's part, from my understanding. I'm not 100%, but that's what I understand. But obviously I do think that characters are definitely past the speed of light in Dragon Ball Z at a certain point.
I'm not 100% either, but I do, on that one I have to double check on that one and do a little research. But yes, I agree with you. I think they actually did break the speed of light. I just didn't want to get into it.
They must have. Especially considering, even though, in the Namek saga, Goku went from like pretty much one side of Namek to the other in one panel, and in the anime it was like an instant basically, so
right.
You can look at it in multiple ways.
That's a good point. All right, let's see. Oh, this is a good one for you, Josh.
Does Zen Kai boost come when you get beat up in battle and heal, or when you get beat up and after that instantly power up. It's a Zen Kai boost is the boost a Saiyan gets from being near death and recovering from that. That is it in a nutshell. And I actually did a video called DBZ101 on Zen Kai boost. I'm sure Qaaman will link it or whatever, but I explained in a video about all of Zen Kai boosts in detail and put my thoughts on it. So
all right, Geekdom, you would want to add anything or?
No, that's it. The video pretty much covers everything, really. It's now, yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't have nothing to add.
All I'm gonna say is that when it comes to Zen Kai boost in the series, a lot of people have said that, Zen Kai boosts stop happening because they don't mention them. But I've always thought about it like this: like I disagree. Just because they didn't mention it doesn't mean they don't theoretically happen. It's kind of like as a human, if I get a cut. And I obviously, if I was a kid and I told my parent, hey, I got a cut, and obviously I'm a human, I can heal from a cut. Just because I get a cut in the future and I don't mention it, does that mean it's not going to heal? You know what I mean? That's kind of the way I look at it. Like, just because you don't mention it doesn't mean it doesn't theoretically happen, because it's a thing that happens with your race. So if it happened earlier, it has to happen later. There's no reason to argue against it just because they didn't say it. And that's one thing I wanted to point out.
That's it, man. Yeah.
This is a perfect question for Dragon Ball Nation.
I have a very, very, very obtuse opinion on this. What if Gohan trained for the 7 years after the Cell Games? I feel like I have one of the most unique opinions in the internet about this. I don't think Gohan would be as strong as everyone's saying. A lot of people think he'd be as strong as his Mystic form. They think he'd turn Super Saiyan 3. I don't think any of that would ever happen, based on the fact that Gohan would not have the resources nor the fighting drive or knowledge, I guess, to train and get to that level. Gohan would not really have the resources to train either. He wouldn't have a very strong training partner. Some people may argue he'd train with Vegeta, who would be the closest to his strength at that point. I don't think Vegeta would want anything to do with Gohan's training. Vegeta was solitarily training through that 7 years, and Gohan just wouldn't have the resources to manage a very efficient training. I do think that he probably would have the strongest Super Saiyan 2 form out of the bunch, even if Goku came back with Super Saiyan 3. I do think Gohan's base form would still probably be the highest, because Goku never really was training his base form in the other world. It was mostly to ascend to those next levels, and I base this on the fact that when Goku was fighting Vegeta, when Goku went Super Saiyan 2 against Majin Vegeta, Vegeta then made the comment that, it looks like at least you're stronger than your son was when he was fighting Cell. And Vegeta only made that comment when Goku went Super Saiyan 2, showing that Goku's Super Saiyan 1 form never got stronger than, I would assume, Cell, and definitely not Gohan. Otherwise, Vegeta would have mentioned it earlier. But aside from that, it just shows that Gohan, I would think, would have the strongest base form, but he definitely would not go to Super Saiyan 3 or be as strong as his Mystic form, as he wouldn't have the resources and the drive, the exact knowledge to maximize his training. That's just my opinion, and I think I have enough evidence to support that.
Well, I mean, I'd just like to ask you a quick question, Josh. If that's your opinion, then would you say Gohan would have trained with Goten or Piccolo over those 7 years? And how do you think he would have gained from it? I
don't think Piccolo would have made a huge difference, and I say this because Piccolo was shown to be one of the was weaker than the Saiyans still. Even after Gohan's lack of training, Piccolo still was shown to be weaker. So I don't think Piccolo would have been that big of a deal in terms of training, and I don't think Gohan would go into the gravity room, because Vegeta would obviously have that active with Trunks. He could train with Goten, and it's unclear of how that would work out, but he would have to wait for Goten to get more developed, 4 to 5 years old, and that leaves Gohan about 3 years to train, and that is still a lot of time, but I don't think it's enough to get him anywhere near Super Saiyan 3 and even his Mystic powers. Just because Gohan's knowledge of his training isn't as good as Vegeta's or Goku's.
Or Piccolo's. But the thing is, so Josh, you're saying that you don't think Piccolo would have been strong enough to make a huge difference in his power over those years?
I don't think so, because Gohan would still have to hold back to keep him in line with Piccolo.
But there is one thing though. Also, I think if he did train with Piccolo, he may not have gotten a significant power increase. But Piccolo has always been put over in the manga and in the anime as being a fighting genius, like a very intelligent fighter. So perhaps Gohan would have learned more of a variety of techniques as far as combat. So maybe that would have been a benefit to him, but I just can't see him surpassing Goku and Vegeta during the Majin Vegeta fight. He would have been either at the very most, he would have probably been a tiny bit higher, but I still don't think it would have been enough.
I think based on how strong Gohan was, I definitely think over 7 years he'd get stronger than Goku and Vegeta's base forms, and as well as if he went Super Saiyan 2, I think he'd be stronger than Super Saiyan 2 Goku and Majin Vegeta. But I think going to what you said about Piccolo had been training him, obviously, and he had trained with Goku in the time chamber. I think Gohan has had a total of what? He trained for a year with Piccolo in the beginning of Z. He did that 3 years of training for the android threat, as well as that 1 year in the time chamber, where those were 3 very crucial points.
And with the Kais, he did train with Supreme Kai.
Yes.
Well, he's talking about
but in
before
this
the 7
situation,
years.
in this situation, that wouldn't happen hypothetically.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, and that's true. You know what? You make a very good point as well, because you would think that in those 4 years he would have, or 5 years if you put them all together, he would have learned everything he could have from Piccolo and Goku.
Exactly. I don't think Gohan retains that knowledge or understands it as well. That's what I'm trying to say.
And I agree with
think Gohan lacks that knowledge, but I do think Gohan's a very skilled fighter, but I think he lacks the knowledge to maximize his training.
And not just that, but also if he did train for 7 years or whatever during the 7 years, it would have been more consistent. So he would have had more muscle memory, I think. I think he would have been stronger. But I agree with you in that it wouldn't have made a difference against somebody like Boo.
Exactly. They still would have had to rely on Goku as well as the 2 boys to fuse Goten and Trunks. That's just my opinion. I know people are going to disagree, and that's fine. I just think I have plenty of supporting facts to back up my opinion.
All right.
Yeah.
I think this is a great question. What if Vegeta would have killed Krillin, Dende, and Gohan on Namek? You want to take this, Geekdom?
You are the king, undisputed of what ifs. But yeah, I'll take it and just give my thoughts. It would have been a very foolish mistake because they all helped out, especially Dende. But also, when exactly is he talking about? Is he talking about?
Exactly. It matters there because Vegeta is shown to save them later.
Because he knows he needs them.
Exactly. But, what would pose Vegeta to kill them? I think, this is just me, even though Vegeta was still considered a villain in my opinion on Namek, I don't think that he would have killed Gohan. At least Gohan, Krillin and Dende, that's questionable. Dende he could have had, some beef with, but I think Gohan, I feel like he wouldn't have killed him necessarily. But in the off chance he did, Geekdom, I'd like to hear your thoughts.
If the off chance he did, he'd be screwed because they wouldn't be able to help him. Second form Frieza would have tore him up by himself. Remember, it was everybody teamed up against him, and Frieza was distracted, and he got his tail chopped off. Yeah, it would have been a very foolish mistake. I think once he realized, once they had that fight with the Ginyu Force, and then again once he learned that Dende could heal, he kind of realized in his head, I can't kill these people. At least not until Frieza's dead. Maybe if Frieza had died, he would have killed them. But again, when they go back to Earth and after the saga, he still didn't do it. So I think he kind of, after the Frieza saga, just became really obsessive about surpassing Goku more so than just killing random people. I think his character changed, started to change right around then.
Exactly. Except for in the Android 18 fight where he just blew up a bunch of cars.
Yeah.
If I were to think about this fight, I think you guys make a good point. The timing makes a huge difference to give a more accurate response, but in general, you got to think that everything, the whole Frieza fight has always been unique for me because until Goku arrived and became a Super Saiyan, the entire fight with Frieza was all in a losing effort. The Z fighters were basically losing the fight with Frieza at every point until Goku arrived. And what I mean by this is, even though Vegeta forced Frieza to go into his second form, and Piccolo was beating Frieza in his second form, and Frieza had to go into his third form and then started being Piccolo, and then, he goes into his fourth form, all of that whole time, Frieza was ultimately stronger than all of them. So it really was about how much time could they last. That was the big question. How long can you guys last until Goku comes? And quite frankly, if it was not for Piccolo fusing with Nail, and if it was not for Gohan having his hidden power unlocked when Frieza was hurting Krillin, Goku would have come into the fight as Xenoverse does in one of their what-if scenarios, and they would have probably have all been dead. And quite frankly, if Gohan didn't have his hidden power, Piccolo wasn't fusing with Nail, Vegeta didn't get another Zen Kai boost from Krillin, they would not have lasted long enough for Goku to get there. And if that is a problem, because Frieza could kill them and Goku comes and, you know, what is Goku gonna do now? Maybe he goes Super Saiyan off the bat, and, you know, maybe Goku might have even put up a better fight than he did had he turned Super Saiyan right off the bat, considering the fact that Goku, when he turned Super Saiyan, and a lot of people got to take this into consideration, it's never been said that Super Saiyan heals you. Goku was badly damaged, and Dragon Ball Nation and I have talked about this for a long time, especially when he talks about GT and Super Saiyan 4 Goku. Goku was not completely healthy when he went Super Saiyan. He was badly damaged, and I've always given Goku credit because you got to think about how fatigued he must have been to basically fight Frieza, be severely damaged in his base form. Frieza kills Krillin, Goku's still badly damaged, and now turns Super Saiyan, and now he's forced to fight Frieza, using more power. That takes a lot of stress on a guy's body, and I think that because of the fact that Goku was badly damaged going into Super Saiyan, I think he was not fresh, and I think if he went off the bat, he would have put up a much better fight, you know, against Frieza himself. But
well, and what validates what you just said is when they fight 19, because Goku's having his little heart problem, Vegeta comes in there and just murks him. Some people believe, you know, oh, there's a good what if for you. Who was stronger? I always was of the opinion they were neck and neck, but because Goku was sick, he, you know, was not 100%. Therefore, he didn't, you know, he was losing that fight. So that validates what you're just saying right there.
All right. Well, yeah. So we all basically agree that killing Gohan and Krillin that day, especially because of the whole Dragon Ball thing and unlocking powers, that would have been probably the worst decision he could make. Alright, Goku or Vegeta, who do you like better? My top 5 favorite characters in Dragon Ball Z are Piccolo, no surprise, Gohan, mainly Gohan because I like Teen Gohan the most, and I think my love for Teen Gohan is so strong. I actually like Teen Gohan more than I like Piccolo. But the only reason I consider Gohan my second favorite character is because I really only like the Teen Gohan form. I'm not that big of a fan of Adult Gohan or Kid Gohan. So that's why I put Gohan 2 slightly ahead of Vegeta. Vegeta is my third favorite character, even though Dragon Ball Nation will tell you I have some people, not all, but some people who think I'm a Vegeta hater, and quite frankly, I'm not. Future Trunks is my fourth favorite character, and Goku's my fifth. That's my top 5.
So I'll just step in real quick. I actually don't have a preference between them. One thing I will say is I'm very much hoping that when Dragon Ball Super comes out, there's more interactions. I think they have a lot of chemistry together, you know, on screen, Goku and Vegeta. But the thing about Vegeta, I mean, he's not my favorite character, but he is among my favorites. But I've noticed that with Vegeta's popularity, I think a lot of it comes from the Namek arc. I think that when he was on Namek and he kind of shifted from being the villain to like this, you know, cool kind of Wolverine-esque anti-hero where he's fighting Frieza's guys. He's still a villain, but he's kind of somewhat of an anti-hero. I think that's when people really started to like him, where unlike Goku, who had been perceived as being too soft in many cases, Vegeta was just outright killing these guys because he was smart enough to know that you can't reason with somebody that evil. So I would slightly put Vegeta as far as who I would relate to, as well as, you know, especially when I was younger, as a more, he's not my favorite, but I like him a little more than Goku.
Well, Goku is my favorite character in the entire series, and I know that's kind of a popular opinion, but it's just my top 5. I mean, it'd be Adult Gohan at number 5. Then I don't actually know who I have at 4. It flip-flops a lot, but number 3 would be Vegeta, 2 would be Cell, and 1 would be Goku, and I think Goku is winning by a landslide. It's something about Goku's personality that I really just adore, and I think one of the greatest things about Goku's character is how his personality shifts from his base form, ascending to Super Saiyan 3, and even though GT's not canon, Dragon Ball GT, I think Super Saiyan 4 Goku was a badass, as well as Super Saiyan 3. I just love and especially Sean Schemmel's performances and the way he gauges those different voices. Always something that's appealed to me. And Goku's one of the best fighters and tacticians in fictional history, and I just love that about him.
And you're on point about Goku changing, because even when Krillin died, they really put a focus on how he was like a different guy during the second half of the Frieza fight. He was just a lot more serious. Even though he was at the brink of death a couple times there, he definitely changed his whole persona right after that, at least during that fight.
Well, yeah, guys, I mean, I guess that basically does it here. Geekdom, who's your favorite character in the show again?
My favorite, I'm debating. It's either between Fat Boo and the dub kind of really messed up Fat Boo, so that's a little skewed in my. I don't like the dub Fat Boo at all.
That was very surprising when I heard that.
No, it's weird, man. The dub Fat Boo just, and I don't know how they're gonna do when they dub Kai. They might change it a little bit, but my favorite actually is Frieza. I think he's like the embodiment of a great villain. But as far as good guys go, shoot, I don't know. I would probably say, you know what? I would probably say a toss up between Trunks or Vegeta. But I really like Roshi too. I think he's very underrated as far as characters go.
I would agree. I would definitely agree.
All right. Well, none of yours has Piccolo, but that's fine.
Piccolo was my favorite for a long time, so.
Yeah, Dragon Ball Nation didn't even put him in his top 5, but that's fine.
Piccolo's worthless, so.
Yeah. All right. That's why he killed Raditz, which spawned the whole series. Anyways, guys, that's basically been our video for today. We're just kidding. Me and Josh just have Piccolo fights all the time. We're just teasing each other. We're not serious. And, you know, I just refreshed the page as we were talking here, and I got 2 questions I just want to spill out really quickly. Josh, I want you to take this question really quick before we close out, because we've had this before.
Oh, this is a Josh special right here.
I'm doing a video on this, so you guys have to take this. I do not want to reveal my thoughts.
Well,
I have a video planned, and I do not want to leave any information. You guys go at it.
I'll reveal it. Goku. I hate to say it. Goku. Yes, Goku would win this fight. And for those who, some people might be listening to this in their car. Maybe they minimize the window. They're not actually watching the video. The question is, who would win SSJ4 Goku at the end of the Shadow Dragon Saga versus SSJ1 Vegito in Z? Goku, I think the SSJ4 power is so strong and such a scale of power that I hate to say it. I know there's a lot of Vegito fans out there, but if you throw GT in the Z timeline, and even if you don't, it's Goku. All right.
Geekdom, I don't even think this is close. I think this would be the equivalent of a human fighting a fly. And the reason why I say this is because, number one, it was said that Goku's base form in GT was as strong as Majin Buu. Now, you got to factor that in here. If
that's
the
freaky.
Super Saiyan, based off of Josh's estimation, Super Saiyan 4 has to be a bare minimum of a 10 times multiplier, considering the fact that Goku went from being weaker than a Super Saiyan. It has to be a 10 times multiplier for Super Saiyan 3. Based
4,000 times base.
The reason is because he based, and I think he did a really good job basing it on the Baby fight, considering Goku went from being weaker than Baby as a Super Saiyan 3 to fighting on par with Monkey Baby, which is 10 times what regular Baby would be. And I think that's a pretty good job that he did to justify that Super Saiyan 4 at least has to be 10 times Super Saiyan 3. And guys, I think the biggest glaring question here is when you say versus Super Saiyan 1 Vegito. If you just said Super Saiyan 1 Vegito, I mean, maybe Super Saiyan 3. And
maybe 3. Yeah, 3 would be a closer fight.
I think Super Saiyan 3 would be a bigger debate. I would still think Goku's stronger because by that time, the Goku himself has gotten so much stronger that I don't even think Z characters are relevant by that point. But quite honestly, I think the fact that this question is saying Super Saiyan 1, that is like, that to me is really, really, really undercutting it. And, you know, Josh has always said that people really underestimate the power of Potara fusion in Vegito, and I wish he would, you know, comment on this. But, you know, quite frankly,
I have to save my thoughts.
Well, they do, it's powerful, but it's just when you look at Goku at the end of the entire anime series, it's just, I mean, there's just not even close, I don't think.
Well, Josh, can you at least give us something about your thoughts?
I will just say that that there is information here that people do underestimate fusion, but I think this fight isn't as wish-wash as people think, and I really want to hold my thoughts because there is stuff in the GT Perfect files. I believe it suggests that Vegito as a Super Saiyan 1 is as strong as Super Saiyan 4 Goku, and I really want to put that in analysis. That's really all I can say. Because if I say anything else, it's going to give away too much.
I'll just also...
Well, remember, this question's at the end of the Shadow Dragon Saga.
He took all of his friend's powers.
Yeah, not when he first did it. Yeah, it's a little harder then. Yeah.
The reason is do you really think that Vegito, Super Saiyan 1 Vegito can beat Omega Shenron or Sin Shenron and any of those characters? That's the big, question I have. And quite frankly, if he did, I mean, that would have been a cakewalk. I mean, considering the fact that 2 Super Saiyan 4s had to fuse in order to beat Omega Shenron, that's way more than what Goku and Vegeta were individually to fuse into fighting Buu. So that's the biggest reason I think Super Saiyan 4 Goku has to be stronger. I mean, fusion-wise, I mean, if they had to fuse fuse 2 characters of that might to beat Omega Shenron, I think that gives the biggest indication that a Super Saiyan 4 would have to be stronger than Super Saiyan 1 Vegeta. But that's my opinion. And that basically does it for today, guys. Why don't I ever answer questions? Because I just answered a bunch of them with these guys. And that basically does it for this video today. I hope you guys check out Geekdom and Dragon Ball Nation. I'll leave links to their channels in the description and also to Josh's video on Zen Kai Boost 101. And I hope you guys enjoyed. We've been talking for quite a while today, and we had a nice conversation, talking about some really good controversial topics. So most importantly, over everything else, please remember to rate, comment, and subscribe. And remember, as I always say, to have a great day, guys.